He slid $10,000 across the counter at 2 in the morning and told me it was mine. No receipt, no explanation. Just a stack of $100 bills held together with a paper band, the kind banks use, and a man in a black coat who hadn't said a word since he sat down. I was 19. I had $43 in my checking account. My mother's next chemo copay was due Monday, and I'd already borrowed from everyone in the building who would still open the door for me. $10,000 would have paid that bill, the one after it, and left me enough to stop stealing toilet paper from the diner bathroom. I pushed it back across the counter. "I can't take that, sir." He looked up for the first time, and I swear to you, I have thought about that look every single day since. Something in his face broke. Not softened. Broke. Like I'd said something in a language he hadn't heard in years. "Why?" One word, flat, not really a question. I should have lied. I should have said company policy, said my manager would fire me, said anything polite. Instead, I told him the truth, because I was so tired my filter was gone, and because he was looking at me like he already knew the answer. Because nothing is ever free, and whatever you think you're buying, mister, I don't have it to sell. My name is Jasmine Akaffer. I was born in Queens, in a hospital that doesn't exist anymore, to a Nigerian father who left when I was 12 and a Black American mother who waited 21 years for him to come back and died while she was still waiting. I worked the graveyard shift at a 24-hour Korean-American diner called Bong's on Northern Boulevard, right where Queens starts turning into Flushing. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 6 nights a week. Mr. Bong paid me $8 an hour under the table because I didn't have the right kind of papers to work above the table. Long story. My father's fault. And I kept whatever tips I could stuff into the pocket of my apron before the day manager could find them. Most nights it was hospital workers on break, cab drivers nursing coffee, drunk kids from Flushing clubs who wanted kimchi fried rice and a fight. I knew the regulars by their orders. I knew who tipped and who didn't. I knew who tried to grab my wrist when I refilled their water and who didn't. I thought I knew everyone who walked through that door. I was wrong about him. He came in on a Friday in March. I remember because it was the week my little brother Malachi turned 7, and I'd spent all of Thursday afternoon fighting with a store manager about whether a boy that age could use a coupon meant for adults. I won. Barely. Malachi got a transformer he'd been pointing at for 6 months, and I went to work that night running on 3 hours of sleep and half a bagel. The bell over the door rang at 1:43 a.m. I didn't look up right away. I was scrubbing the coffee rings off table 6. A regular had dropped a cup earlier, and the stain was the kind that sets if you let it. And when I finally straightened up, he was already sitting at the counter. Back to the door, which was wrong. Nobody sits with their back to the door at 2 in the morning in Queens unless they don't have to be afraid of anyone. He wore a black overcoat over a black suit over a black shirt. No tie. His hair was damp from the rain that had started an hour ago and was still going, and there was a small cut above his right eyebrow, already crusted over. He didn't look at me. He looked at the counter. "Coffee," he said, "black and the soup." His English had an accent I'd heard before, softened by years in New York but still there underneath, the consonants landing a half-beat too hard. Korean. We had Korean customers every night. Mr. Bong's family was from Daegu originally, but this one was different. The other Korean men who came in here were tired. This one was empty. I brought him the sialyangtang, ox bone soup. Mr. Bong's specialty. He simmered the bones for 16 hours and swore by it like medicine. When I set the bowl down in front of the man in the black coat, his hand was shaking. Just a little, not from cold. He'd been in out of the rain for at least 10 minutes by then. I noticed things like that. Nursing assistants are trained too. I'd spent 6 months at a nursing program at Queens Community before my mother's diagnosis and the money ran out, and old habits don't leave you just because your tuition did. I noticed the shake in his hand. I noticed the way he held the spoon. Left hand. His right hand stayed in his lap under the counter. "You want kimchi with that?" I asked. "No." "Rice?" "No." "You want me to leave you alone?" He looked up then, really looked, And I realized he was younger than I'd thought. Not old. 30s maybe, but the kind of 30s that had lived through worse than I'd ever imagine. Dark eyes. A face that didn't move when he didn't want it to. Yes, he said. So I left him alone. He ate the whole bowl, slowly. I watched him from behind the register, pretending to count the float, and I saw him take every spoonful like he was proving to himself that his body still worked. When he finished, he pushed the bowl away, wiped his mouth with a paper napkin, folded the napkin neatly into a square, and set it on top of the empty bowl. Then he reached into his coat with his left hand. His right still hadn't moved from his lap, and pulled out the money. It was banded, bank-wrapped, $10,000 in hundreds. He set it on the counter in front of my register like he was leaving exact change. For the soup, he said. I laughed. I actually laughed, which is not what you're supposed to do when a man in a black coat at 2 in the morning offers you $10,000. But I had been awake for 19 hours, and the laugh just fell out of me. Soup $6.50, mister. I know what it cost. Then you know this is too much. Keep it. I can't. That's when he looked at me the second time. The way he looked at me when I said I can't is the look I was trying to describe at the start. It wasn't surprise. It was something worse than surprise. It was the look of a man who has spent his entire adult life watching people take money from him for every conceivable reason, and who had just found out that a tired girl in a stained apron was not going to be one of them. Why, he said again, that flat not quite question. And I told him. I told him I had a mother who was dying and a brother who was $7 and $43 in the bank, and I told him that $10,000 would solve every problem I had tonight, and I told him that I wasn't going to take it anyway, because nothing is ever free, and whatever he thought he was buying, I didn't have it to sell. I didn't cry. I was so far past crying that night. I just said it the way you say the weather. He stared at me for a long time, long enough that I started to get scared, because I had just told a man with a cut on his eyebrow and a right hand he wouldn't show me that I thought he was buying something. 19-year-old girls in Queens do not say that to strange men at 2 in the morning unless they want something bad to happen. Then he did something I did not expect. He took the money. He put it back inside his coat. He stood up, and he bowed to me. Not deep, not formal, just a small, sharp dip of the head, the way I had seen Mr. Bong bow to his own father when the old man visited once. I apologize, he said. And he walked out into the rain. I stood there for a full minute after the bell stopped ringing. Then I went into the bathroom, locked the door, sat on the closed toilet lid with my head in my hands, and I shook for 10 minutes straight. Not because I was afraid of him. I don't know how to explain this part. I think it was because I had just refused $10,000. Actual money. Money that could have changed everything for my mother. Money my pride had thrown away because some voice I couldn't name had said no. Not from him, not like that. When I came out, Mr. Bong was standing behind the counter looking at the empty bowl of soup, and the $6.50 the man had left in exact change next to the folded napkin. Who was that? Mr. Bong said. I don't know, just a customer. Mr. Bong looked at me a long time. Then he looked at the door. Then he looked back at me. Jasmine, he said very carefully, if that man comes back, you call me. You call me right away, you understand. Why? He didn't answer. He just took the empty bowl into the kitchen and washed it himself, which he never did, and when he came back his face was the face of a man who had seen a ghost. I didn't think about it again that night. I had 6 more hours on my shift. I should have asked. God, I should have asked. Part 2, the Fridays. He came back the next Friday. Same time, 1:43 in the morning. To the minute, I checked the clock when the bell rang because some part of me had been counting the days. Same black coat. Same cut healing above his eyebrow, yellow at the edges now. He sat at the counter, same stool, and he didn't look at me. Coffee, black, and the soup. I brought them. I didn't say anything this time. I just set the bowl down and went back to wiping tables, and I felt his eyes on me the whole time I wasn't looking at him. When he finished, He pulled a 20 out of his coat and laid it on the counter. $8.70 for the check, $11.30 tip. A normal tip, generous but not insane. Not the kind of tip that meant anything except thank you for the soup. He stood up, did that same small bow, and left. I watched him get into a car that was waiting at the curb. Black SUV, tinted windows. The driver got out this time, though walked around the front of the car to open the back door, which he had not done the week before. A young guy, late 20s, thick neck Korean, wearing a cheap black coat that did not fit him right across the shoulders. I noticed him because he looked at me through the window before he closed the door. Not a threatening look, not anything, just a glance, the way you look at a person whose face you are being told to remember. His name was June. I didn't know that yet. I wouldn't know his name for almost a year. What I learned later is that June had been told by Kang-ho that night to look at her face. Look at her face so that if anything ever happens to her, you will know whose face it is. And June had done what he was told. The SUV pulled away into the rain that was falling again. It was always raining that spring. And I stood at the window and told myself I had imagined the whole thing the week before. Except for the $11.30 on the counter, which I picked up and put into my apron pocket, and which I did not share with the day manager. He came back every Friday after that. 1:43 a.m., same stool, same order, same bow, same normal tip. For the first 3 weeks, he did not say anything to me except coffee, black, and the soup. I did not say anything to him except here you go. We existed in a strange bubble of quiet at the counter for 45 minutes a week, and somewhere around the 4th Friday, I realized I had started washing my hair on Thursday nights. I was 19 years old. I was dead broke. My mother was on morphine, and I was washing my hair for a man whose name I didn't know because he was coming to eat soup at a diner at 2 in the morning. I told myself it was basic hygiene. I am telling you right now that I was lying. On the 5th Friday, he spoke to me first. Your accent, he said as I was pouring his coffee. You were not born here. I was born here, in Flushing Hospital. My dad was Nigerian. Was. He left when I was 12. He absorbed that without reacting. I'm sorry, he said. Don't be. He did me a favor. His mouth moved, not a smile, the ghost of one, like his face was remembering how that worked. What's your name? He asked. Jasmine. Jasmine. He said it the way someone tastes a word they've never used before. Soft on the J, a little longer on the mine than an American would say it. Jasmine. I had to turn around and pretend to work the espresso machine so he wouldn't see my face. And yours? I asked, not looking at him. Kang-ho. Kang-ho. Seo Kang-ho. The family name goes first in Korean. Kang-ho, I said again, trying it. That's a nice name. It means strong and brave. My mother was an optimist. I turned around. He had picked up his spoon. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the soup. Was she, I said, an optimist? She is dead. He said it the way I had said my father left, not asking for anything, not even for sympathy, just a fact on the counter between us, sitting next to the ox bone soup. I'm sorry, I said. He nodded once, and then he ate his soup, and I went and wiped tables, and the bubble held. That was how it started. Fridays, small pieces. He never asked me anything I couldn't answer. He never asked about the $10,000. He never asked about my mother. He asked about small things, what I was reading, whether I liked the music Mr. Bong played on the radio, whether I thought it was going to snow in April. I learned 3 things about him over those Fridays. 1, he was 34, born in Busan in New York since he was 18. 2, he had a brother, had, past tense. His voice around the word did the thing my voice did when I talked about my father, the careful flatness that means the speaker is stepping around something with teeth. 3, he was rich, not diner rich. The watch was the kind that didn't have a brand name visible because the people who bought it didn't need it visible. The coat was cashmere. Once, when he reached across the counter for a napkin, his sleeve rode up and I saw the edge of something black at his wrist, ink, a line of it, curling up under the cuff. The beginning of something much bigger. I didn't ask about the tattoo. I didn't ask about the money. I didn't ask why a man like him was eating ox bone soup at a diner on Northern Boulevard at 2 in the morning every Friday like his life depended on it. Somewhere in those weeks, I had started to understand that he was not there for the soup. And if I asked him why he was there, he would have to answer, and I was not ready for the answer. Neither was he. On the 7th Friday, a man grabbed my wrist. It was almost 4 in the morning, which is the worst hour of a graveyard shift. The worst hour is not 2 a.m. when the drunks come in. It's 4, when the drunks come back out of wherever they'd been and decide they want breakfast. 3 of them in a booth. White guys, suits, Wall Street type, the kind who take the train out to Queens to slum it after work and drink twice as much as they would in Manhattan because they think Queens is a foreign country where nothing counts. I'd been ignoring them since they sat down. They'd been ignoring me too, which was the only part of their behavior I approved of. Then the tallest one caught my wrist as I reached across to take his plate. "Where you going, sweetheart?" "I'm clearing your table, sir." "You can clear my table later." His grip was tight enough that I couldn't pull away without making a scene, and his friends were laughing, and I felt that old familiar ice-cold calm I get when I have to decide between making a scene and losing a tooth. I was choosing. I was weighing my options. I was about to do the thing I had done 100 times before: smile, de-escalate, get the manager, live with it. And then there was a hand on his wrist. I hadn't heard Kang-ho get up. I hadn't heard him cross the diner. He was just there, suddenly, standing next to the booth, his right hand wrapped around the Wall Street guy's right wrist. Not squeezing, not visibly, just holding. "Let her go," he said. "The fuck are you?" The Wall Street guy tried to pull his hand back. Couldn't. I saw his face change, confusion, then annoyance, then the first edge of actual pain as he realized he could not move. "Let her go," Kang-ho said again. "You want a fucking problem, chink." Kang-ho's face did not change, but something in his hand did, because the Wall Street guy made a noise I had never heard a grown man make before. A small, high, breathless sound, like a dog that's just been stepped on. "Apologize to her," Kang-ho said. "Fuck you." A crack, small, like someone snapping a pencil under a dish towel. The Wall Street guy screamed. "Apologize to her." I'm sorry, Jesus, I'm sorry." "To her, not to me." The Wall Street guy turned his face to me. His eyes were wet. His wrist was at an angle wrists don't go. "I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry." Kang-ho let go. The man cradled his own wrist against his chest like a baby bird. "Pay your bill," Kang-ho said. "Leave a tip, leave." They left. The other 2 practically carried the first one out. They threw cash on the table without counting it. I found almost $200 there when I cleared up, and the bell rang over the door and the 3 of them were gone. Kang-ho sat back down at the counter. "Your coffee," he said to me very calmly, "is getting cold." I stood in the middle of the diner with a dirty plate in my hand, and I looked at him. And I saw what he was. I don't know how to explain the shift. I had known, in some part of me that wasn't letting itself speak, from the first night. Normal people don't have $10,000 in cash. Normal people don't sit with their backs to the door. Normal people don't break a man's wrist with one hand while the other hand is still in his coat pocket. But I had let myself not know, for 7 weeks. Because when he said my name on a Friday night, he said it soft, and because when he asked what I was reading, he actually listened to the answer. Now I knew, and he knew that I knew. I put the dirty plate down. I walked behind the counter. I picked up the pot of coffee. I refilled his cup, my hand was steady, which surprised me, and I set the pot back on the burner. "You need to stop coming here," I said. He nodded once, didn't look at me. "I know." "Are you going to?" He was quiet for a long time. "No, I'm not." "Why?" He looked up. "Because you are the only thing in my life that doesn't want something from me." My shift ended at 6. The sun was coming up through smog over Flushing, that particular New York pink that looks like somebody spilled grapefruit juice on a dirty window. Kang-ho was still at the counter. He had been sitting there for 4 hours. He had paid for the coffee 3 times, every time I refilled it, like he was buying himself the right to stay. I untied my apron. I took the tip money out of the pocket, almost $300, most of it from the Wall Street table, and put it in my bag. I punched out. I walked out the front door and into the pink morning, and Kang-ho walked out behind me. The black SUV was at the curb. June was leaning against it, smoking. When he saw Kang-ho come out, he dropped the cigarette and stepped on it and went around to open the back door without being told. "I'll drive you home," Kang-ho said to me. "You don't know where I live." "I do." I stopped on the sidewalk. The air was cold enough to see my breath. Traffic was starting on Northern. A garbage truck was backing into an alley. "How long have you known where I live?" "Since the 3rd Friday." "You had someone follow me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because the 3rd Friday I realized I was going to keep coming back. And if I was going to keep coming back, I needed to know how to find you if something happened." "If what happened?" He didn't answer. He just held the SUV's back door open. June stood a respectful 3 steps away, not looking at either of us, the way a good driver doesn't. I was tired. I was scared. I was angry. I was so many things. And underneath all of it, and I hate myself a little for telling you this, but I promised at the start I would tell you the truth, underneath all of it, I wanted to get in the car. Because I hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night in a month, and my feet were screaming, and the subway was going to take an hour, and a man who had broken another man's wrist for me was holding a door open. I got in. The inside of the SUV smelled like leather and something else. Cold metal. Gun oil, I figured out later. June got in the driver's seat. He did not look back at me. He adjusted his rearview mirror so that he was looking at the road and not at his passengers. That was the first thing I ever saw June do correctly, and I did not know that I was seeing it. Kang-ho got in the other side, and the doors locked with a soft click that sounded nothing like the doors on any car I'd ever been in before. "Bulletproof," Kang-ho said. "Windows and door panels, in case you were wondering." I wasn't. "You should wonder." He gave June an address, my address, the basement apartment in East Elmhurst, in Korean, and the SUV pulled away from the curb. We rode in silence for about a mile. Then he spoke. "My brother was killed 3 months ago, a week before the night I gave you the money. He was shot in the back of the head in a parking garage on the Upper East Side, by people who work for my cousin. My cousin's name is Seo Minwoo. He is 41 years old and he thinks the family should be his. He was wrong about that, and he is about to be more wrong." Kang-ho. "The money was supposed to be for my brother's wife. I couldn't give it to her because she would have asked where it came from and I couldn't tell her. It was not clean money. I want you to know that now, Jasmine. It was what the family had taken in that week. Banded hundreds, out of the safe in the office in Flushing. I was going to give it to her and lie about the source. I was going to tell her it was insurance. I had not yet decided on the lie. I walked into the diner because I needed to be somewhere that was not the office for an hour, and I wanted to eat something I hadn't eaten since I was 17, and I had the envelope in my coat because I had not figured out how to get it out of my coat. And you." He stopped. "I offered you $10,000, and you told me nothing is ever free. Nobody had said that to me in 20 years. Nobody had refused me anything in 20 years. And the way you said it like you were sorry for me. Not angry. Sorry, like you could see me. And I realized I had forgotten what it felt like to be seen by somebody who did not want to use me. I thought about the stack of bank-banded hundreds on my counter at 2 in the morning. I thought about the voice that had said no, not from him, not like that. I had not known what the money was. I had only known I did not want it. And now I knew why. Some part of me, some inherited instinct my mother had put into me before she died, had known before I knew. That's why you came back. Yes, every Friday, to sit at your counter and drink black coffee. Yes. Kang-ho, I am nobody. I am a 19-year-old waitress who is probably going to lose her apartment next month. Whatever you think you're seeing. I know what I see, Jasmine. He turned and looked at me. We were stopped at a light. The pink morning was in his face, and I saw him really clearly for the first time, the small scar above his eyebrow, the shadow under his eyes that had not gone away in 7 Fridays, the tiredness of a man who had been fighting a war alone. "And I'm not asking you for anything," he said. "I'm telling you why I come. I will keep coming. I will keep tipping 11:30. I will keep leaving. You do not owe me a word. You do not owe me a smile. You do not owe me anything at all. But I needed you to know. Because tonight you saw what I am, and I did not want you to think I was there to buy you." The light turned green. "Kang-ho," I said. My voice was smaller than I wanted it to be. "What are you?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said it very simply, like he was telling me the weather. "I am the second son of the Seo family. My grandfather was the first of us to come to New York. My father ran Flushing from 1989 until last year when his liver failed. My brother was supposed to take his place. My brother is dead. Now it is mine." "Mafia. We do not use that word, but yes. You kill people." "I have. I will again. I will not lie to you about that." I should have asked him to let me out of the car. I should have screamed. I should have done 100 things, and instead I sat in the back of a bulletproof SUV in East Elmhurst with a Korean mafia boss, and I said, "Why are you telling me?" "Because you asked." "No, why are you telling me the truth?" He looked at me for a long time. "Because you're the only person in my life I have ever wanted to tell the truth to," he said. We pulled up at my building. June put the SUV in park. He did not turn around. Kang-ho reached for the door handle. "Kang-ho, wait." He waited. "That guy," I said, "the driver." "June." "He your whole life." Kang-ho glanced at the back of June's head. June did not react. June had been told not to react. "I brought him over from Busan when he was 23, Kang-ho said quietly. "He has a wife and a daughter. The daughter is 6. Her name is Jai-hai. He drives me because he does not like blood. He is the least dangerous man on my payroll, and I keep him close because when this is all over, I want him to still be able to look his daughter in the face." I looked at the back of June's head. I looked at the thick neck in the cheap black coat. "Hi, June," I said. June's eyes flickered to the mirror, just for a second, and I saw him smile, a small, polite, surprised smile, the smile of a young man who had not been spoken to directly by a passenger in a very long time. "Annyeonghaseyo, Agassi," he said, and then in English more quietly, "Hello, miss." I got out of the car. I did not know, that morning, that I had just met the man who would save my life 11 months later at the cost of his own. I did not know that the daughter with the name Jai-hai was going to sit at my kitchen table for the next 15 years, and that the first thing I would say to her on the night we got her back would be your father said hello to me in a car on Northern Boulevard the morning your mother was making you rice balls for school. I just got out of the car, and I went down the basement steps to my apartment, and I fell asleep in my uniform on my mother's fold-out couch, and I slept for 11 hours. If you're still with me, if you're still in that bulletproof SUV on Northern Boulevard at 6 in the morning, do me one quick favor. Tap the like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't. This story gets darker from here, and I want you here for all of it. Okay, back to Queens. Part 3, The Mother. My mother died on a Tuesday in May. I want to tell you it was peaceful. The truth is bad. The truth is that my mother, Rachel Acaffer, born Rachel Sims in Memphis, Tennessee, died in our basement apartment on a fold-out couch at 4:17 in the afternoon, and she was conscious for all of it, and she was afraid. Pancreatic cancer does not give you a peaceful ending. It gives you something else. I held her hand. Malachi was at school. I had sent him that morning even though I think I knew, because I did not want him to see it. The hospice nurse had been there in the morning and had said today, maybe tomorrow, and then she had gone to her next house because there are more dying mothers than there are hospice nurses, and I was alone with my mother when her breath changed. I won't tell you what she said. That was for me. I will tell you that when I called the number the hospice nurse had given me, my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't hit the buttons. I dropped the phone. I picked it up. I dropped it again. And I realized, and this is a terrible thing to admit, that the number I wanted to call was not the one on the card. I called Kang-ho. He picked up on the first ring. My mother just died, I said. Where? Home. I'm coming. Kang-ho. 20 minutes. He hung up. He was there in 14. He did not come alone. June was driving. Kang-ho came up the basement steps first, and June stood at the top of the stairs on the street. And behind June there was an older Korean woman, small in her 50s, with the kind of face that has absorbed a great deal of bad news professionally. Her name was Mrs. O. She was, Kang-ho told me later, one of the family's cleaners, not the kind that cleans blood, the kind that cleans situations. Mrs. O took over. I don't know how else to say it. Within an hour, she had called the right coroner, the right funeral home, the right everybody. She made me a cup of tea and put it in my hand and sat me down on a folding chair in the kitchen while other people handled my mother's body. June stayed on the street. He did not come inside, but I noticed when I finally went up the steps an hour later to breathe that the street had been emptied of people. There were usually kids out front in the afternoon, kids from the building, my neighbor's boys, a teenage girl who walked her grandmother's dog, and that afternoon there were none. June was standing on the corner. He was not doing anything visible. He had just made the street be quiet. So that when they brought my mother out in a bag, nobody was going to be watching. I understood later that this was a kindness, a specific one, that Kang-ho had told him to do it, and that he had done it with the seriousness of a man who had once watched his own mother brought out of a building in a bag and who remembered who had been watching. Kang-ho did not talk much. He stood in the corner of my tiny kitchen in his black coat and he watched me, and every time I looked up he was there, and every time I needed something, water, tissue, a phone charger, it appeared in my hand before I had to ask for it. Mrs. O called Malachi's school and had them keep him an extra hour. When Malachi finally came home, she was the one who sat on the couch with him and told him in a voice I could not have produced. She held him while he cried into her shoulder like she had known him his whole life. At one point, Kang-ho knelt down in front of Malachi and said something to him in a low voice. Malachi nodded. Kang-ho reached into his coat and took something out and gave it to him. I found out later it was a small pocket knife, the kind a Korean father might give a son on his 10th birthday, a small, solid, useful thing. And Malachi carried it in his pocket for the next 4 years until he lost it in a swimming pool. Malachi looked up at him and said, "Are you going to be my brother-in-law?" Kang-ho looked at me. I was standing in the doorway. I had heard. "Yes," Kang-ho said, "if she'll have me." Malachi nodded like this had been settled. He was 7 years old. He had just lost his mother. And a man he had met an hour ago had given him a pocket knife and promised to be his brother, and my little brother had accepted this the way children accept serious offers. I turned around and went into the bathroom, and I cried for the first time that day. The funeral was the following Saturday. We did it small. My mother didn't have a church. She'd lost her faith sometime after my father left, and she'd never gone back, so we did it at the funeral home with a non-denominational pastor who mispronounced her middle name. 16 people came. My mother's sister flew in from Memphis, 2 neighbors, a woman from my mother's old job back when she could still work, me, Malachi. And in the back row, Kang-ho, black suit, black tie, alone. He did not speak to anyone. He sat in the last row and he watched the whole service, and at the end he walked up to the casket and he bowed to my mother the same small, sharp bow he had given me the night he took the money back. Then he walked out. My aunt said, "Who was that?" "A friend," I said. "That is a very serious man to be just a friend, baby." "He's a friend." She looked at me for a long moment. My aunt had buried 3 husbands. She knew things. She patted my hand. "All right," she said, "a friend." She did not ask again. That night, I went to the diner. I didn't have to. Mr. Bong had given me a week off. I had $1,400 in savings and almost no rent paid, and I couldn't afford the week off, but he had insisted. But I couldn't stay in the apartment. Malachi was sleeping at the neighbor's. My mother's empty couch was still in the living room. I put on my uniform and I took the bus to Northern Boulevard, and I walked in the back door of Bong's at 10 p.m. on the day we buried my mother, and I started my shift. Kang-ho came in at 1:43 a.m. He did not order. He sat at the counter in his black coat with the small cut above his eyebrow healed completely now, just a thin white line, and he waited for me to come to him. I came. I did not bring him coffee. I did not bring him soup. I stood on the other side of the counter from him, and I put both my hands flat on it, and I looked at him, and I said the thing I had been deciding to say since he walked into my dead mother's apartment 4 days earlier. I can't do this halfway, Kang-ho. I can't be the woman you come to on Fridays. I can't be a secret. I have a 7-year-old brother who watched our mother die, and I am everything he has. If you want me in your life, you have to mean it. And if you mean it, I need to know what I am walking into, all of it, every part, every person who might come to my door. I need to know the names of the people who killed your brother. I need to know who your cousin is. I need to know what I'm worth on whatever market you people have. Because I am not going to find out when somebody rings my bell at 3 in the morning. Do you understand me? He looked at me for a long time. Then he stood up. He took off his coat. He folded it neatly over the stool next to him. He walked around the end of the counter. He came and stood in front of me on my side of the counter, on the employees-only side, in the narrow space behind the register, and he put his hands on my face very gently, and he said, "Yes, I understand you, and I mean it." And he kissed me. It wasn't slow and cinematic. It was fast and hard, and it tasted like coffee and like the salt on my face, because I had started crying again without realizing it, and his thumb was wiping the tears away while he was kissing me, and Mr. Bong, who had been pretending not to watch from the kitchen, turned the radio up loud enough that anyone walking by wouldn't hear, and he disappeared into the back to give us a minute. When Kang-ho pulled back, his forehead was against mine. His eyes were closed. "Sarang-hee," he said quietly, so only I could hear. "I am telling you in Korean because I have not been able to say it in English. Not yet. But it means I love you, Jasmine. It means I love you, and I will tell you every name and every face and every piece of what I am, and I will protect you and your brother with everything I have until the day I die. Sarang-hee, do you understand?" I understood. Part 4, the slow yes. He did not move me in. I want to say that right away because if you have read a story like this before, you think you know what happens next. He swoops in. She quits her job. He buys her a house. The end. That is not what happened. Kang-ho was a careful man, and he was also, I would learn, a man with a great deal of experience in what happened to women who were loved too fast by men like him. So he did it slowly. For the first 3 weeks after the kiss behind the counter, I saw him exactly twice. Once on a Sunday afternoon. When he came over to my apartment to meet Malachi properly, in daylight, in the living room with the fold-out couch still in the middle of it, with Malachi sitting on the carpet eating cereal out of a bowl. Kang-ho sat on the floor with him, ate cereal out of a different bowl, didn't try to charm him, just sat there. He was there for 40 minutes. He left when the cartoon ended. The second time was Friday, same diner, same stool, same order. He did not ask to see me after. He tipped 11:30. He left. I cried in the bathroom on my break. I did not understand then what he was doing. I understand now. He was letting me choose. Every Friday, every visit, every small presence, he was making it possible for me to change my mind. He was giving me, in his extremely careful Korean way, room to back out. He had told me he loved me in a language I didn't speak, and then he had given me 3 weeks to decide whether I wanted to learn the word. On the 4th Friday, I handed him his check and I wrote on the back of it, in pen, 2 words. "Come back." He read it at the counter. He did not look up. He set the check down. He finished his coffee, then he looked at me. "When?" "After my shift." 6 a.m. "Yes." "Jasmine." "Yes." "Are you sure?" "Yes." He nodded once. He paid. He left. At 6 a.m., the SUV was at the curb. He took me home, just home, not to his house, not to a hotel, not to breakfast. He sat in the back next to me all the way to East Elmhurst, and he held my hand, and he did not speak. When we got to my building, June handed me a small paper bag through the window before I got out. Pink and green rice cakes from the Korean bakery on Main Street. "My wife made them," June said. "For your brother. She said a 7-year-old boy should not have to eat cereal on the carpet. I don't know how June's wife knew about the cereal on the carpet. I think June had heard Kang-ho tell someone. I think June had gone home and told his wife. I think she had made the rice cakes that afternoon. Her name was Mai Kyung. I had not met her. I would not meet her for 6 months, but she had sent me rice cakes. I cried a little on the sidewalk in the morning light. Kang-ho, in the back seat, did not get out to comfort me. He let me cry. He understood, I think, that some of the crying was the good kind, and that the good kind needs space. The Thursday I want you to pay attention to, the one I am going to remember when I am 80, was 3 weeks later, in early June. I had a cold, a bad one. The kind you get when you have been running on 3 hours of sleep a night for a month, and your body finally catches up with you. I had called in sick to the diner, the first sick day I had taken in a year, and I had put Malachi to bed at 9, and I had been sitting on the fold-out couch at 10:30 with a box of tissues and a cup of tea that had gone cold 2 hours ago, and my phone rang. Jasmine. Kang-ho, I can't really talk, I'm sick. I sound like a goose. I know you're sick, that's why I'm calling. Is Malachi asleep? Yes. Open the door. What? Open the door. I went to the window. The SUV was in the street. Kang-ho was standing on my top step, in the rain, in a black coat with the collar up, holding something in a plastic bag. I let him in. He did not take off his coat. He did not hug me. He did not say anything. He walked past me into my kitchen, put the plastic bag on my counter, took off his coat only then and hung it on my single hook, and he started unloading groceries. Garlic, green onions, a pork bone, a tub of kimchi, tofu, rice, a small bottle of sesame oil, a container of something brown that I found out later was soybean paste. Kang-ho, what are you doing? I am making you kimchi jjigae. I'm sick. I know, that's why. You don't have to. Jasmine, he turned around. He was already rolling his sleeves up. The full ink, black and dense from wrist to elbow, one tiger and something that looked like a wave and a Chinese character I didn't know. I had not seen his forearms in 5 months of knowing him. Go lie down on the couch. I am making my brother's soup. It is the only thing I cook. Go lie down. I went and lay down on the couch. He cooked for an hour. In my tiny kitchen, in a cheap pot he had to wash himself because I had not washed it since Tuesday, on a stove that had one burner that did not work. He did not ask me where anything was. He found everything himself. He hummed once a bar of something Korean I did not recognize under his breath, and then he stopped like he had caught himself doing it. I watched him from the couch through the doorway, the back of his neck, the line of his shoulder. The careful way he chopped the green onions, small and even, the way his mother had taught his brother who had taught him. He brought me a bowl. He sat on the floor next to the couch, not on the couch, on the floor, and he handed me the bowl and he handed me a spoon and he said, "Eat slowly. It is hot." I ate. It was the best thing I have ever put in my mouth in my life. I want you to understand that. Not because the soup was that good, though it was very good. Because the soup was made by a man who had not cooked for anyone in 21 years. Because the man who had made it was sitting on my carpet next to my couch watching me eat, with his forearms bare and his tattoos showing, and his face was doing the thing it had done the morning in the SUV. It was open, it was unguarded, and he was watching me eat the only thing he knew how to cook, and he was looking like he might cry if I said I liked it. I said I liked it. He did not cry. He did, however, put his face down onto the couch cushion next to my leg for a minute, just his forehead, against the couch. He did not speak. I put my hand in his hair. His hair was surprisingly soft. I had never touched his hair. We stayed like that for 10 minutes. Then he got up. He washed the pot. He washed my bowl. He washed every dish in my sink, which was not a small number of dishes. He took the trash out. He put a clean glass of water on the table next to the couch. He picked up his coat. "Malachi's lunch," he said from the door. "I packed one. It is in the fridge. Tell him Kang-ho Hyung made it." Kang-ho. Yes. I love you. I hadn't planned to say it. It just came out, in English, because I didn't know the Korean yet. I had not said it to a man in my life. I had not said it to anyone except Malachi and my mother since my father left. It fell out of me at 2 in the morning in East Elmhurst in a basement apartment that still smelled of soup. He stopped at the door. He did not turn around for a long moment. Then he did. His eyes were wet. I had not seen his eyes wet. I would not see them wet again for almost a year. I have been waiting 5 months to hear you say that, he said. I know. In any language. I know. Jasmine. Yes. When you are better, when your cold is gone, I want you to come to my house. Not to move in, not yet, just to come. I want to show you where I live. I want you to decide if you can stand it. Because if you cannot, I will sell it. I will buy a different one. I will buy whatever house you can stand. Do you understand me? I started to cry. Soup and tissues and Kang Ho in a coat at my front door at 2 in the morning offering to sell his house for me. I understand, I said. He left. I lay on the couch and I looked at the ceiling for a long time, and I thought about my mother, and I thought she would have liked him. She would have. She would have sat on the floor and eaten his soup and told him his Korean was too fast for her, and she would have liked him. The next week, I went to his house. Sands Point, on a piece of land that touched the water of Long Island Sound. Not a mansion. The mansion had been his father's, a tacky monument Kang Ho had no interest in, now half occupied by his mother's old sister Halmione. Kang Ho lived in something smaller, modern, glass and dark wood, 3 bedrooms, a view of the Sound, a library with books in 4 languages, a kitchen that did not look like anyone cooked in it much. I walked through it slowly. He watched me. Is it too much? He asked. It's beautiful, Kang Ho. That's not what I asked. I know. I stopped at the window. The Sound was dark and moving, lights from boats in the distance. The glass was so clean I couldn't see it. My mother would have loved this view, I said. He came up behind me. He put his arms around me. Then we will keep it for her, he said. I cried. He held me while I cried, and he did not tell me to stop. Later, much later, in the dark of the bedroom that looked at the water, he undressed me slowly, and he showed me the rest of what was under the suit. His whole torso was covered. Ink, black and dense, running from his wrists up his arms, across his shoulders, down his back, across his chest. A tiger on his ribs. A dragon coiled down his spine. And smaller things. Words in Korean and Chinese that I could not read. And one name, in Hangul, over his heart. My brother, he said when I touched it. Seo Jinho. How old was he? 39, 2 years older than me. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was a good man. I will tell you about him one day. He did, eventually. That night he did not talk. That night he was careful with me in a way I had not known a man could be careful. He kissed every place on me where I had a scar, the one on my knee from falling off a bike when I was 10, the one on my shoulder from a grease burn at the diner, the thin one on my wrist from a broken glass 2 winters back. He treated every one of them like it was important. He did not speak at all until the end, and when he spoke, it was in Korean, and the only word I understood was Saranghi. In the morning, I woke up alone in the bed. Kang Ho was on the deck outside in the early sun on the phone in rapid Korean. He was speaking the way he had spoken in the car that first morning, flat, cold, the voice of a man giving orders. I watched him through the glass for a minute. He saw me watching. He held up one finger 1 minute and went back to the call. When he came inside, he kissed my forehead. Problem, I said. Always. Minwoo. He stopped. Yes, he said, Minwoo. And that was the first morning I understood, truly, that I had walked into a war. Part 5, The Cousin. I need to tell you about Seo Minwoo. I am telling you about him because if I do not, the rest of what happened will not make sense. You need to understand what he was, and what he wanted, and why he was always going to come for me eventually. Seo Minwoo was Kang Ho's first cousin. His father and Kang Ho's father had been brothers. In the old family back in Busan, Minwoo's father had been the older one, and an old country logic that had meant the family should have been his, and then his son's. But Minwoo's father had made a bad gamble in 1987. He had bet on the wrong faction in a war I don't fully understand, and he had been killed for it, and Kang Ho's father had come to America and built the Seo family in Flushing on his own. Minwoo had never forgiven this. He was 41. He was a mid-level man in the family. He ran the protection rackets in Astoria and Long Island City. He had wanted more for 20 years. When Kang Ho's father got sick, Minwoo had started positioning himself to be next in line, and when Kang Ho's older brother Jinho had been set to take the seat instead, Minwoo had, according to Kang Ho, reached out to the Italians in New Jersey and arranged for Jinho to die in a parking garage. The Italians had done it. Minwoo had paid them. Minwoo had then expected the family to turn to him. The family had turned to Kang Ho. Minwoo could not forgive that either. I met him on a Wednesday in late July, at a lunch Kang Ho could not get me out of. It was at the house in Sands Point. Kang Ho had not wanted it there. He had wanted it somewhere neutral. But Minwoo had requested the house, had sent a hand-delivered note requesting it, which Halmione Park told me later was a calculated insult, the way you make a play to be invited into the king's own home so that you can walk the hallways and take inventory. And Kang Ho had agreed, because refusing would have been a bigger insult than accepting. You do not have to be there, Kang Ho had told me the night before. I can send you to the city, Halmione's apartment, just for the day. No. Jasmine. No, Kang Ho. If I am going to be in this, I am going to be in this. I need to see his face, and he needs to see mine. He had been quiet a long time. Then, you are braver than I deserve. I know. Minwoo arrived alone. He drove himself. He pulled up in a silver Mercedes that had not been washed in a week, a deliberate touch, I would learn, a small signal that said I am not a man who performs for you. He came up the walk in a gray suit, no tie, one hand in his pocket. He was carrying a small gift, a bottle of soju, expensive, wrapped in rice paper, the kind of thing you bring to a meeting between cousins. He was not as tall as Kang Ho, thinner, a narrow face, a jaw that came to a point. His hair was cut short on the sides and longer on top in a style I associated with Korean pop singers, which was wrong for his age and which he wore anyway. His eyes were what I want to tell you about. His eyes were not cold. Cold is what you say about a villain in a movie. Minwoo's eyes were interested. They looked at everything like everything was for sale and he was the only buyer. When he saw me standing next to Kang Ho at the door, his face did a very fast thing. It went from neutral to surprised to pleased in the space of maybe a second and a half. Surprised that I was standing next to Kang Ho and not waiting in another room. Pleased, I realized a moment later, because he had information he had not expected. Sajangnim, he said to Kang Ho and bowed. Then he turned to me. He did not bow. You must be Jasmine. I am. Minwoo, Kang Ho's cousin. He held out his hand, not to shake, palm up, for mine. I gave him mine. He held it, did not shake it for half a beat too long. He did not look at my hand. He looked at my face. You are very beautiful, he said. Cousin, you did not tell me she was so beautiful. You did not ask, Kang Ho said. Minwoo laughed, a real laugh, a warm one. That is what I want you to understand about him. He had a warm laugh. It was the most frightening thing about him. He let go of my hand. He turned his attention entirely to Kang Ho like I was no longer in the room, and we went inside for lunch. Lunch was 3 courses. Halmione Park was there, Kang Ho had insisted, and her presence calmed the table in a way I could not have predicted. Minwoo was deferential to her, too deferential. He called her emo aunt, and he refilled her water glass before his own. Halmione watched him the way I had once watched a raccoon in my mother's garbage can, not afraid, just attentive, waiting to see which way it would jump. Minwoo asked me questions, polite ones. How did you meet my cousin? How long have you worked at the restaurant? Do you have family in New York? Is your brother doing well in school? I answered him carefully. Halmione had not yet started my lessons, that was still 2 months away, but I had enough instinct to give him short answers. Yes, almost a year, my brother, yes. And what does your family think? He asked, halfway through the main course, smiling. About you marrying into a Korean family. My family is my brother. He is 7, he likes Kang Ho. And your mother? I looked at him. I kept my face the way Halmione would later teach me to keep it, without knowing yet that that was what I was doing. My mother died in May. Ah, Minwoo's face did a small performance of sadness, a short, dignified bow of the head. I am sorry, I did not know. You knew. The words came out of my mouth before I decided to say them. Small, flat. Kang Ho's hand found my knee under the table. Halmione's chopsticks paused in midair. Minwoo's face did not change, but his eyes flickered, and for the first time that afternoon, I saw what was behind them. Not warmth, not interest, something else. Something that was looking at my face the way a butcher looks at a cut of meat to decide what it's worth by the pound. Of course I knew, he said, quietly, smiling still. How could I not know? My cousin's great love, mourning her mother. It is my business to know everything that matters to my cousin. I was sorry for you then. I am sorry for you now. Please accept my apology for the awkwardness of the question. Thank you. Forgive me. It was a test. I wanted to see your face when I asked. Why? Because I have heard a great deal about you, Jasmine. The woman who refused my cousin $10,000. That is a story in our family. And I wanted to see if you could refuse him, and if you could choose him, what kind of woman were you? Now I know. What do you know? He looked at me for a long second. I know, he said, that you will be a very difficult woman to frighten. He smiled. That is a compliment. I know it is. Good, he turned back to his soup. Eat, Jasmine, it is getting cold. He left at 4 p.m. in the unwashed silver Mercedes. We stood on the front steps with Halmione. None of us spoke until the car was gone from the driveway. Then Halmione said in Korean very quietly, "That man is going to try to kill you. Both of you. He has already decided. I saw it in his face during the soup." Kang Ho said, "I know." I said, "He said he saw it in my face." Halmione turned her head and looked at me, slowly. "Yes," she said, "he did, and that was his mistake." She took me by the arm. She was very small. Her hand was very strong. "Child, you and I are going to begin lessons. Monday, in my apartment above the bakery in Flushing. I am going to teach you how to survive my nephew's love and his cousin's hate. You have a face that tells the truth. We are going to fix that." She went back inside to help clear the table. Kang Ho and I stood on the steps. He had not let go of my hand since we had come outside. "Jasmine, I am going to kill him. It will not be this week, maybe not this year, but I am going to kill him. I need you to know that before we go further. If you cannot live with a man who is going to do that, tell me now." I thought about my mother on the fold-out couch, about Jinho in the parking garage, about Minwoo's warm laugh. "Okay," I said. "Okay. Okay, kill him when you need to." Kang Ho closed his eyes. He brought my hand up and he pressed it to his mouth. He stood on the front steps of his own house and he pressed my knuckles to his lips, and he did not speak for a long time. Then we went inside, and we had dinner with Halmione, and that night I slept in his bed for the second time in my life, and I slept without dreaming. Park Hyunhee was 68 years old, and she terrified me. She was very small, not even 5 feet, silver hair in a tight knot. She wore black every day, not as a fashion statement, but because she had not stopped mourning her husband, who had been killed in 1991 by a Russian man in Brighton Beach. She drank black coffee, smoked long, thin cigarettes, and spoke 6 languages. On my first day, she said, "You are prettier than I thought you would be. This is unfortunate. It will make the women hate you faster. We will begin with Hangul." We did, 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, in a small office above a bakery on Main Street in Flushing. She taught me Korean. She taught me the names and faces of every family in the New York underworld. She taught me how to read a room, how to enter a room, how to leave a room, how to recognize when a room had gone wrong. She taught me what to do with my face when Kang Ho was publicly insulted, which he would be, because he was a boss with a black American girlfriend, and there were men who would not let that go quietly. "They will not say it to him," she told me. "They will say it near him, for him to hear. You must not react. If you react, you give them power. If you do not react, they look foolish. Your face, Jasmine, your face is a weapon now. Learn to use it. I learned, slowly. I was not a natural. But Halmione was patient in the way that only old women who have buried their own loved ones can be patient. And by October, I could sit across a table from a man who had called me that black girl in Korean, to my face. And I could drink my tea and smile, and not give him 1 inch of satisfaction. Minwoo was at those dinners. Minwoo was always at those dinners. He never spoke to me the way he had on the steps. He was excessively polite every time. Every time he smiled, the skin on the back of my neck moved. Kang Ho's hand would find mine under the table when Minwoo was in the room. He never said anything. He just held my hand, and I held his. The dinner I want to tell you about happened on a Saturday in late October. It was at a restaurant on Northern Boulevard, 3 blocks from Bong's. I want you to understand the cruelty of that detail. Minwoo had chosen a restaurant 3 blocks from the diner where I had worked. He had done it on purpose. He wanted me to look out the window and see the sign for Bong's down the street. He wanted to remind me of what I had been when he looked across the table at me. He wanted me small. Halmione had briefed me in the car on the way over. Tonight there will be an old man. His name is Othwan. He is 72. He was my husband's friend. He has never accepted that a Korean man should marry outside the blood. He will say something to you at the table. He will say it in Korean. He will smile when he says it. Do you understand? Yes. What are you going to do? I don't know. Good. I looked at her. She was looking straight ahead at the back of June's head in the driver's seat. She did not turn to me. Halmione. I have trained you for 4 months, child. 4 months. You speak enough Korean. You know what he will say. You know what he is trying to do. You will answer him when he speaks, and you will answer him in Korean, and you will answer him with your own mouth. I am not going to put words into your mouth. If I put words into your mouth, they will hear my words coming out of your face, and that will cost you more than the insult. What if I can't think of anything? Then you will say nothing, and silence will be your answer. Silence is also a language, and I have taught you that one too, but you will not say my words. Do you understand me? Yes, Halmione. Good. Now, tell me what you know about Othwan. I recited. Thwan, 72, widowed, 2 sons, one of them a dentist in New Jersey, one of them dead in 2003. He had buried his wife 4 years ago. He had been Halmione's husband's friend since 1978. His cruelty was not casual cruelty. It was the cruelty of a man who was afraid of becoming irrelevant. Halmione nodded. Remember that last part, she said. That is your key. He is afraid of becoming irrelevant. Speak to that fear, not to the insult. That is how you win. The restaurant was called Samwon. 12 of us at a round table in a private back room. Old men in dark suits. 2 women besides me, Halmione, and the wife of one of the older men, a woman named Mrs. Kim who had not said a word to me in 4 months of these dinners. Minwoo was to my right. Kang Ho was to my left. Othwan was directly across from me. He was, as promised, 72 years old. He had a face like a dried apricot. His eyes were the kind of eyes that had watched a very great deal and had not forgiven any of it. He had not spoken to me all evening. He had addressed comments to Kang Ho that referenced me, in Korean, as the girl, as your choice, as the mother of your future son, but he had not once said my name or looked at me directly. The soup came, ginseng chicken. The waiter served Othwan first, then Halmione, then the other old men in descending order of age, then Kang Ho, then Minwoo, and then me, and then Mrs. Kim. I was served 11th at a table of 12. I thanked the waiter in Korean. I picked up my spoon. I waited for Othwan to begin eating, because that was the custom, and then I began eating. The soup was excellent. 2 courses later, after the banchan, and after the braised short rib, Othwan finally looked at me. He smiled. He raised his small cup of soju toward me in what, to anyone not listening carefully, would have looked like a toast. And he said, in Korean, "It is a beautiful thing to see our young boss bring a pet to his own table. In my village, we used to say a man who cannot control his dog cannot control his house." Silence around the table. Kang Ho's hand moved to the inside of his jacket. I felt it because his shoulder pressed against mine for half a second. I put my hand on his thigh under the table. I squeezed once. He stopped. I thought about what Halmione had said in the car. He is afraid of becoming irrelevant. Speak to that fear, not to the insult. I picked up my own small cup. I did not have soju in mine, because I had been avoiding alcohol since a positive pregnancy test that morning that I had not told anyone about yet, not even Kang Ho. But the cup was full of barley tea and it looked the same. I raised it toward Othwan. And in the slowest, most careful Korean I owned, because I did not want to get a single word wrong, I said, Elder O, in my mother's village they used to say, when an old man stops being feared, he starts being loud. I hope tonight is not that night for you. I would be sorry to see it. What that line did? Nothing. For a count of maybe 5 seconds, nothing at all. The kind of silence that gets into the glassware. I heard one of the old men at the far end of the table clear his throat. I saw the waiter in the doorway freeze with his hand on the edge of the cart. I saw Kang Ho's water glass, 4 inches from my elbow, and I saw the tiny tremor of his hand on the tablecloth. I had said the thing. The thing could not be unsaid. The only question was what Othwan was going to do with it. He looked at me for what felt like a minute and was probably 7 seconds. His face did not move. Not pleasure. Not anger. Not even surprise, which was the thing I had been counting on. He had been insulted in front of 11 men by a girl a third his age, and his face did not move. Then he picked up his soju cup. He drank it. He set it down. He turned his head to the man on his right, and he began a conversation in Korean about a dead singer from Busan who had, apparently, released a recording in 1974 that Othwan preferred to anything that had been made since. He did not address me again. He did not look at me again. He did not bow. He did not call me Sajangnim. He simply went on as if the thing had not happened. Which was, I understood afterward, the worst thing he could have done to me. Because it meant he was not going to grant me the dignity of a response. It meant he had decided, in whatever old man calculus he ran in his head, that I was not worth fighting. And it meant the other 10 men at the table were going to have to decide for themselves what had happened, without any guidance from him. 4 of them, I learned later, decided I had won. 2 of them decided I had embarrassed myself. The rest went home and asked their wives. Halmione, across the table, took a sip of tea. Her face was the face she used for funerals. She did not look at me. In the car on the way home, Halmione did not speak for a long time. I watched the back of June's neck in the driver's seat. I watched the streetlights going past. I had been holding my breath for maybe 40 minutes and I had not noticed. Finally, in Korean. Where did you learn that proverb? I made it up. You made it up. In the car, while he was talking, I thought of what you said about him being afraid of being irrelevant, and I made it up. Halmione was quiet for another long moment. Jasmine. Yes, Halmione. You were lucky tonight. I felt the disappointment hit me before I knew what to do with it. I had thought, for the first time in 6 months I had thought, that I had made her proud. Halmione. Listen to me, do not interrupt. You were lucky. He could have stood up. He could have left the table. He could have required Kang Ho to send you home, and Kang Ho would have had to agree because the alternative would have been a fight in a restaurant that we do not need to have this year. Any of those things could have happened. All of them would have been worse for you, for Kang Ho, and for the family than the insult you were answering. You did not know they could happen. You did not weigh them. You took a gamble that you did not know you were taking, and the gamble came out in your favor. I'm sorry. Do not be sorry, be honest. What you did tonight was brave. Bravery is not a skill. Skill is knowing which brave thing to do and which brave thing not to do. You do not have that yet. We will work on it. She looked at me. For the first time since I had met her, she looked at me the way you look at someone you have decided to take seriously. But she said, the proverb was a good proverb. I will not lie to you about that. It was a good proverb, and the old man will remember it. I do not think he will tell it to his grandchildren. I think he will tell it to himself when he cannot sleep, which may be worse for him. I did not know what to say to that. I sat in the back of the car with her hand resting, briefly, on my wrist. Then she said, one more thing, very quietly. "Welcome to the family, child." It was the closest she had ever come to kindness. Kang-ho did not say anything at all until we were back at the house, and Malachi was asleep, and we were alone on the deck. And then he pulled me into his lap in the deck chair, under the blanket, and he pressed his face into my hair. "Your Korean was perfect," he said. "Halmione says I was lucky." "You were." "She's angry." "She's not angry, she is scared. She watched you gamble with your life tonight, Jasmine. He could have walked. If he had walked, you would not have been welcome in a Korean dining room in New York City again. She knows this. You did not. And she is thinking about what happens the next time and the time after that when you do not get lucky." I was quiet. "But," he said, "she loves you tonight, I saw it. She has not loved anyone since her husband died. And tonight in that car she loved you, I heard it. You understand what that means." "Yes." "Good." We sat on the deck for a long time, and he held me, and I watched the lights of the boats out on the Sound, and I thought, Halmione is right. I was lucky. I need to be better than lucky. 3 hours later, I would tell him about the pregnancy test. But not yet. I wanted to hold that for a little longer. Just me and the person on the inside of me who did not yet know his name. Part 6, The Months Between. I want to tell you about the months between October and April. Not all of them. 5 things. Because if I skip over them, the rest of what happened will not weigh what it should weigh, and I will have done you the disservice of hurrying past the part of my life that was the happiest I have ever been. 1. The night I told him. We were back at Sands Point after the dinner. Kang-ho came out of the bathroom brushing his teeth. I was sitting on the bed in one of his shirts with a pregnancy test in my lap, wrapped in a tissue. He saw my face. He stopped. He came over. I handed him the tissue. He unwrapped it. He looked at it. He looked at me. He looked at it again. Then he said, very quietly, in Korean, and this is the line I am going to carry with me forever. "Ah, so that is why you did not drink the soju." I laughed so hard I fell back on the bed. He lay down next to me on his side and he put his hand on my stomach, flat, still flat. He did not kneel. He did not say anything dramatic. He just lay next to me in the dark. "I will be better than my father was," he said eventually. "That is the only promise I am going to make tonight." "I know." After a while his hand moved, very slightly. He had fallen asleep. 2. The kick. It happened on a Thursday in January. I was 19 weeks. I had been feeling something for a week, not a kick, a flutter. The thing the book said was called quickening, which is a word I did not like because it sounded like the biblical version of what was happening, and I had been waiting for a real one. I was at the diner. I want you to register that. I was at Bong's. I had not quit. This was a point I had made and kept making. I worked the Thursday night shift, 6 hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., because Mr. Bong needed Thursdays, and because I was not yet ready to let that part of my life go, not completely. Kang-ho did not like it. Kang-ho had made his peace with it, which was not the same thing as liking it. June drove me there at 9:45 and picked me up at 4:10. It was a slow night. Rain. 3 tables. I was refilling the salt shakers at the counter, which is a thing you do when there is nothing to do, and Mr. Bong was in the kitchen prepping the breakfast dough, and the radio was playing a Korean ballad I did not know, and the rain was on the window, and I was thinking about nothing in particular. The baby kicked me. Not a flutter, a kick. A small, hard, unambiguous kick against the inside of my belly, the way you might poke a person from underneath a blanket. I dropped the salt shaker. It did not break. I put both hands on my stomach and I stood very still at the counter with my mouth open. Mr. Bong came out of the kitchen. "Jasmine." "He kicked me." "Who?" The baby kicked me. He kicked me, Mr. Bong." Mr. Bong's face did a thing I had never seen it do before. He came around the counter. He put his hands on my shoulders. He was a small man, a round man, a man who had been baking bread for 40 years and who had never had children of his own. He had known me since I was 18. "A boy," he said. I don't know, I just said I don't know why. It is a boy, mothers know. Then Mr. Bong did something that made me cry. He bowed to me, a deep one, the deep bow he gave to his own father when the old man visited. And he said, "Congratulations, Jasmine, please sit down. You are not going to refill salt shakers tonight. I will make you soup." He made me sialyantang, the same thing Kang Ho had ordered the first night. I ate the whole bowl. I cried a little. Mr. Bong pretended not to see. When June came at 4:10, Mr. Bong came out to the car with me. He stood at June's window and he said something in Korean I did not catch. June looked at Mr. Bong, and then he looked at me in the mirror, and his face did the same thing Mr. Bong's had done. "Congratulations, Sajangnam," June said to me. And then, for the entire drive home, the full 35 minutes, June drove at exactly 28 miles per hour, on empty streets. He had been driving me for 6 months at his usual pace, which was fast. That night, he drove at 28 miles per hour because he had just learned there was a baby in the car. I laughed in the back seat the whole way home. He had almost hit a pothole on Queens Boulevard the week before and had apologized for 20 minutes. This was worse. When I got out of the car at Sands Point, I said, "June, you can drive normally tomorrow." "Yes, Sajangnam." "I mean it." "Yes, Sajangnam." He drove normally again 3 days later. On the first 2 days, we went 28 miles per hour everywhere. Kang Ho did not say a word about it. Kang Ho had been told by June at 5 a.m. that Thursday morning that there was a baby. And Kang Ho had given June specific instructions. And Kang Ho had been so happy about those instructions that he had not seen fit to modify them for 48 hours. 3. The sleeping. I had been sleeping badly since I found out. This is a pregnancy thing. Nobody warns you. Everyone warns you about morning sickness, which I did not get, and about cravings, which I did not have, and nobody warns you about the insomnia. I would fall asleep fine, and then I would wake up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and I would lie there for an hour, and then I would fall asleep again at 6 for a bad hour and wake up exhausted. I mentioned this to Kang Ho around 22 weeks. He did not say anything at the time. He said "ah" and rubbed my shoulder and we went to sleep. The next morning I woke up at 3 a.m. the way I always did. I turned on my side to find my water. Kang Ho was awake. He was not looking at his phone. He was not reading. He was not doing anything. He was propped up on one elbow next to me and he was watching me. "Kang Ho." "Yes." "What are you doing?" "Watching you sleep." "Why?" "Because you said you wake up at 3, and you do not know why. I thought I would watch you and see if I could figure out why." I sat up a little. I squinted at the clock. "How long have you been watching me?" "About an hour." "Kang Ho." "Yes." "That is creepy. That is actually creepy." "I know." "Why are you watching me?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because I have been a man whose job was to notice small things for a very long time. I notice small things. I notice that when you sleep on your left side, you stop breathing for 2 or 3 seconds at a time. You do not do it when you sleep on your right side. I think the weight of the baby is on something. I think you are waking up because you cannot breathe, and your body is waking you up so you will turn over, and then you are awake. I think if you sleep on your right side, you will sleep through." I was watching to be sure. "You were watching me for an hour to figure out why I'm waking up." "Yes." "Because I mentioned it once yesterday." "Yes." I lay down on my right side. He put his hand on my back very lightly between my shoulder blades. I was asleep in 4 minutes. I did not wake up at 3 a.m. for the rest of the pregnancy. Not once. People think of mafia bosses as men who kill. They do kill. Kang Ho did kill. But what they are mostly is men who notice. They notice everything. The men at the next table. The way a car is parked. The way a woman breathes when she sleeps. And most men like him use what they notice to destroy things. Kang Ho had decided to use what he noticed to fix me. 4. The February. In February, Malachi got a cold. I was 6 months pregnant. just starting to show enough that strangers were touching my stomach in the grocery store without asking. It was a Friday. Malachi was home from school with a runny nose, a low fever, and a truly apocalyptic attitude. Kang-ho had come home from the city early. It was snowing outside. The brownstone, we had bought a brownstone in Forest Hills in December, 8 weeks earlier, because Kang-ho had wanted us back in the city and I had wanted Malachi in a public school, and the house in Sands Point had become a weekend place. The brownstone was warm. The radiators were clanking the way old radiators do. Malachi was on the couch with a tissue box. "I don't want soup," he announced when I suggested soup. "I don't want tea, I don't want anything." "Okay." "I want pizza." "You're sick, Malachi." "I want pizza, and I want to watch cartoons, and I want my mom." He said it. I want my mom. He hadn't said that in a long time, not since the first month after she died. He had been doing so well, school, friends, a baseball league Kang-ho had signed him up for, that I had let myself forget that he was 7, and that he had lost his mother less than a year before, and that there were still nights, still moments, when the whole thing would rush back up into him like flu. He started crying. Big, embarrassed, 7-year-old crying. He tried to hide his face with the tissue. I was sitting on the coffee table. I could not get off the coffee table fast. I was 6 months along and my balance was garbage, and before I could get to him, Kang-ho was there. Kang-ho sat down on the couch next to Malachi. He did not pick him up. He did not hug him. He did not try to make it better. He just sat, next to my little brother, shoulder to shoulder. "Hyung," Malachi said. Hyung, Korean, big brother. Halmione had been teaching him. He had not called Kang-ho that before, not to his face. "I am here," Kang-ho said. "I miss my mom." "I know." "Do you miss your mom?" "Every day." "Does it stop?" "No, it does not stop. It gets smaller. You learn to carry it, but it does not stop." Malachi was quiet for a long time. His little shoulders were shaking. Kang-ho did not move. He just sat there next to him. Then Malachi leaned sideways. He leaned his whole body into Kang-ho's arm. He pressed his face against Kang-ho's sweater. He blew his nose into the tissue without moving his head. And Kang-ho slowly, so slowly, the way a man moves when a bird has landed on him and he does not want to scare it off. Kang-ho put one arm around my little brother's shoulders. And then the other. And then my husband held my mother's son against his chest, and Malachi cried until he fell asleep. And I sat on the coffee table across from them with my hand on my belly, and I watched them, and I thought about how much I loved this ridiculous, dangerous, impossible family I had made. Kang-ho did not move for 45 minutes, not until I pointed at the blanket on the back of the couch. He pulled it over Malachi one-handed. He laid Malachi down against the pillow. He got up carefully. He came and he knelt in front of me on the coffee table, and he took my face in his hands, and he said, "I am going to keep him. I am going to keep you. I am going to keep this baby. I do not care what it costs. Do you understand me?" "I understand. Everything I have is yours. Everything." "I know, Kang-ho." He kissed me. Then he went and he ordered a pizza from the place on Metropolitan, because when Malachi woke up, Malachi was going to want pizza. I tell you this because 2 months later, when Minwoo put a gun against my driver's head and offered him a choice between his daughter and my life, what Minwoo was really trying to take from me was that Friday in February. The snow, the radiators, the pizza, the boy sleeping against my husband's chest. That was the thing Minwoo wanted to destroy. That was the thing I was going to crawl across an asphalt parking lot 8 months pregnant to protect. Men like Minwoo never understand. That is why men like Minwoo always lose. 5. The April. At 34 weeks, my blood pressure went up. Not terribly. Enough that my doctor, Dr. Chen, a small Chinese woman who had delivered 471 bobbies before mine, gave me a cuff and a list of warning signs and made Kang-ho promise in front of her that if he saw any of them, he would take me to the hospital without asking. Gestational hypertension, she called it, not preeclampsia. Yet. She also, at that appointment, asked to speak to Kang-ho alone. I found out later what she said. She told him that she knew who he was, and that she knew my blood pressure numbers could go bad fast in the last 6 weeks, and that if something happened on a day when she was in surgery or 2 hours away from her office, she wanted me to have a second doctor she trusted who could get to me in under 30 minutes. She gave Kang-ho the name of a man she had trained with in Seoul, Park Jin-soo, a maternal fetal specialist who had moved to New York in the 90s and who, not coincidentally, had been on the Seo family's retainer for a decade. Dr. Chen was not naive about who my husband was. She also was not naive about what she could afford to ignore. Dr. Park was added to my chart that afternoon as the on-call backup, and a bag was packed with 2 units of matched blood and a fetal monitor, and the drugs you give a woman whose blood pressure is about to kill her. And that bag sat in the trunk of Dr. Park's car for the next 4 weeks, next to his groceries. I did not know any of this. Kang-ho did not tell me. Dr. Chen did not tell me. I would only learn about it on the Tuesday. Kang-ho promised. He also, starting that week, stopped bringing work home, which meant he did not tell me about the 3 meetings with Minwoo that happened in March, which meant he did not tell me that Minwoo had been warned twice in the last 6 weeks to back off, which meant that when June started acting strangely in the first week of April, quieter than usual, tired, the skin under his eyes gray, Kang-ho noticed it the way he noticed everything, but he did not tell me. Because I was 38 weeks pregnant, and the only woman he had ever loved, and he was trying to keep me calm. This is the mistake Kang-ho will tell you, if you ever meet him, was the worst mistake of his life. Because if he had told me about June's face in April, I would have asked June what was wrong, and June would have told me. He would have told me, because June had come to love me in a very specific, very careful way over the past year, the way a loyal younger brother comes to love his older brother's wife. He had told Mai Kyung the week before, she told me this later, that he was worried for me, that he did not know what was coming, but that he thought something was coming. I would have told Kang-ho. Kang-ho would have handled it. June's daughter would not have been taken. But Kang-ho was trying to keep me calm, and June was already being eaten alive by the secret he had been carrying since late March, when 3 men had walked up to Mai Kyung's car outside Jaihai's school and had shown Mai Kyung a photo of her daughter. Mai Kyung had told June. June had done the thing a man does when his 6-year-old girl is threatened. June had said yes. He would do what they asked. Just please leave the child alone. They had taken Jaihai anyway, on the 7th of April, 11 days before the Tuesday I need to tell you about now. June had been carrying that for 11 days, while driving me to prenatal appointments, while bringing me warm rice cakes from his wife, while he listened to the Korean ballads I liked on the radio, while he told me, the morning of the 15th, 3 days before everything happened, that his wife said hello, and that she had made me a small jar of pickled radish, and it was on the seat beside me if I wanted it. He had been carrying his daughter's kidnapping, and he had been bringing me pickled radish. I am telling you this because I want you to understand, when we get to the Tuesday, what June did and why. Part 7, the Tuesday. It happened on a Tuesday in April, 8 months and 2 weeks into the pregnancy. I was huge. I want you to understand how pregnant I was. I could not see my feet. I could not tie my own shoes. I had a specific brand of crackers I ate for breakfast because everything else made me sick. Dr. Chen had told me the week before that the baby was in position, head down, probably a week or 2 away. My blood pressure that morning had been 142/89, which was the best it had been in a month, and I had been so pleased about it that I had taken a picture of the cuff reading and sent it to Kang-ho, who was in the city, and he had sent back a single heart emoji, which for Kang-ho was the equivalent of another man writing a love letter. That morning, the morning of the Tuesday in April, Malachi had a field trip with his 4th grade class. They were going to a place called the Hall of Science in Queens. I was supposed to drop Malachi off at the school and then go to my 38-week prenatal appointment. June drove us. He was quiet. I noticed, but I did not say anything. He had been quiet all week. I had asked Kang-ho on Monday if June was all right, and Kang-ho had said he's fine, he's just tired, his daughter has an ear infection. I had accepted that answer because I had wanted to accept that answer, because I was 38 weeks pregnant and Kang-ho had told me June was fine, and I had wanted June to be fine. June was not fine. June had been told, the night before, that if he did not deliver me alive to a specific warehouse in Bayside by 12 noon on Tuesday, his daughter Jai would be killed by 5 p.m. He drove me and Malachi to the school. Everything was normal. Malachi kissed my stomach through my coat. He had taken to kissing my stomach every morning to say hi to his nephew. He had decided it was a nephew, and he was right, though we did not know yet, and he ran inside. June pulled away from the curb. He was supposed to take me to Dr. Chen's office in Astoria. He did not take me to Dr. Chen's office in Astoria. He took the Long Island Expressway eastbound. I noticed at exit 30. June, this isn't the way. Construction, Sajanam, detour. My phone was in my purse. I reached into my purse slowly. I did not look down. June was watching me in the rearview mirror. Please put your phone down, Sajanam. His voice was not normal. June's voice was normal when he called me Sajanam. That voice, that morning, was a voice that was about to break. June, please put your phone down and place both your hands on the seat where I can see them. I put my phone down. I put both my hands on the seat. I looked June in the eye in the rearview mirror. And I did the thing Halmione had trained me to do for 6 months. I kept my face still. June, I said, in Korean, clearly, slowly. Tell me what is happening. I am not afraid. Tell me. June's hands were white on the wheel. They have Jai. Who? Minwoo's men. They have had her since the 7th. Jai is with Minwoo's men. Yes. 11 days. Yes. June, you should have told us. I could not. They said if I told Seo Sajangnam, they would. He could not finish. His hands shook on the wheel. I saw him. I saw him for what he was. He was 34 years old, and he had a daughter he had been carrying on his back for 11 days, and he had just betrayed me, and he was about to do the other thing that the man he used to be had done his whole life, which was try to make it right. June, listen to me. I'm sorry, Sajangnam, I am so sorry. June, listen, Minwoo does not give people back, you know this. You have driven this car for 4 years, you know what men like Minwoo do. If you take me to that warehouse, Jai does not come home, not to you, not to my Kyung. Do you understand me? I know. Then why? Because maybe she comes home. I had to try. What was I supposed to do? He was crying. The tears were on his face. He was driving 70 miles an hour on the lie, and he was crying, and I was 8.5 months pregnant in the back seat of his car. I kept my voice very level. June, we go to Kang Ho. Kang Ho will find her. Kang Ho finds everyone. That is the only way. Turn around. We passed exit 35. I could see in the side mirror that a black SUV had been on our tail for 10 miles. 3 men in it. None of them were ours. Turn around, June. June did not turn around. June did something braver. June reached across his body with his left hand, pulled his gun out of his jacket, a gun I had not known he carried, and he put it on the passenger seat where I could see it. Sajangnam, he said in English very quickly. When I take exit 37, there will be a service road. There will be a black SUV behind us, 3 men. I am going to try to lose them. When I stop the car, you get out. You run into the gas station on your right. You lock yourself in the bathroom. You call your husband. Do you understand me? June. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please tell Mai Kyung that I loved her. Please find my daughter. Please. June, we are going together. Get down now. I got down. I lay across the back seat of the SUV with my arms around my belly, my huge 8-month belly, the baby inside kicking because I think he could feel my heart going. And June took exit 37 at 50 miles per hour, and the SUV behind us took it at 55. And somewhere on the service road, June made a very hard right turn, and I heard the tires scream, and I heard June swearing in Korean, and I heard gunshots, 3 of them fast, and I heard June grunt. June. Go. We stopped. I don't know how. The engine was still on. The back seat was a bathtub. I pushed my way up. My stomach was hitting the seat. The baby was moving hard. I was making a noise I didn't recognize, and I saw June slumped forward against the wheel. his shirt red, his eyes open. June, 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 stay with me. June. He was still breathing. His eyes moved. He looked at me in the mirror. Sajanam, run. June. Please. I pushed the door open. I fell out of the car onto my hands and knees in a gas station parking lot. I pushed myself up. I could hear the other SUV behind us. June had driven it into a light pole. It had crashed. One of the men was climbing out. I turned back to June one more time. I pressed my hand against the inside of his driver's window. He saw me. He closed his eyes. I ran. June died in the driver's seat of that SUV, not in an ambulance, not with a paramedic holding his hand. Alone, with the engine still running, sometime in the next 4 or 5 minutes, while I was on the other side of a chain-link fence. That is what I want you to know. He did not get a clean death. He did not get to pass along messages. He just bled out in a parking lot off exit 37 with his daughter's name in his head. I did not know this for 6 hours. I would have to live with not knowing for 6 hours. I ran. 8.5 months pregnant across asphalt in April. I do not remember running. I remember the feeling of it, the stupid, impossible wait. I pushed through the gas station door. The bell rang. A woman behind the counter, maybe 50, Indian, her hair in a braid, saw my stomach, saw my face, saw behind me through the glass the crashed SUV and the man getting out of it. She did not ask. She did not call the police, not yet, not until I was hidden. She grabbed my arm, hauled me behind the counter and down a short hallway into a back room that smelled like cleaning products, and she locked the door behind us. Then, and only then, did she pull out her own phone. I am calling the police, she said, already dialing. You go out the window. There is a fence. Behind the fence is grass. In the grass they will not find you. Go. I can't climb. I will help you. She boosted me. She was small. I was not. She was stronger than any 50-year-old woman in a sari has any right to be. I got one leg over, then the other. The drop was 4 feet. It knocked the wind out of me. I rolled into a patch of grass behind a strip mall, and I heard her through the open window already talking to 911, in an accent so thick the dispatcher was going to have to ask her twice for the address, and I thought, in the most unhelpful way possible, "Please, ma'am, say it slowly." My water broke when I hit the ground. I lay in the grass and I felt the warmth on my legs and I thought, no, not now, not now. I called Kang-ho with hands that were shaking too hard to hold the phone. He picked up on the first ring. Jasmine. Kang-ho, my water just broke. I'm behind a strip mall off exit 37. June is shot. I don't know if he's alive. The baby is coming. Kang-ho. Listen to me. Are you hidden? Yes. Can they see you from the road? No. Jasmine, listen. The Indian woman at the gas station is calling police. You heard her calling. Yes. Yes. Police are going to come. Paramedics are going to come with them. They are going to find you in that grass, Jasmine. A uniformed officer is going to walk the perimeter in 10 minutes and find you. Do you understand me? Yes. When they find you, you are going to have a choice. They will want to put you in a county ambulance. They will take you to the nearest hospital. That is Nassau University Medical Center. It is a public hospital. My name is on a list in 3 organizations. If you go to a public hospital on the day my driver is killed on a service road, Minwoo will know where you are inside of 20 minutes. He has people in every public hospital in Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk. Do you understand what I am telling you? You're telling me I can't go with the paramedics. I am telling you that you can. It is your choice. The baby is coming. The safest thing for the baby is that ambulance. I will not lie to you. If you go with the ambulance, the baby is more likely to live. But you are more likely to be killed before tomorrow morning. And if you are killed, the baby does not have a mother. I am telling you what the math is. I am not telling you what to do. I lay in the wet grass, with my hand on my stomach. I thought about my mother. I thought about Malachi. I thought about June. I thought about the person on the inside of me who had been kicking his whole life and who was about to be born into a world that was trying to kill all 3 of us. I'll wait for you, I said. Jasmine. I'll wait for you. Tell me what to tell them." He was quiet for a moment. I could hear Jaiwon downshifting in the background. I could hear the engine climb. "When they find you, and they will find you, Jasmine, before I get there, you tell them your name is Jasmine Akaffer, not Seo. Akaffer, you tell them you were a passenger in a car accident. You tell them your husband is 11 minutes away with your doctor and is coming to you. You tell them you are declining transport. You sign the form. They will argue with you. They will tell you that you have preeclampsia and that you are risking your life and your baby's life. They are correct. You do it anyway. You tell them your doctor is Park Jin-soo, maternal fetal specialist, and that he is en route and that he has your prenatal records. You tell them his number. Repeat it to me now." He gave me Dr. Park's number. I repeated it 3 times until I had it. "Good, you wait for Dr. Park. He will be in the second car with me. He will treat you at the edge of the parking lot. We will not move you until he says you can move. Then we will take you to a hospital that belongs to us. Do you understand what I am asking you to do?" "Yes. I am asking you to refuse the ambulance in order to live." "I know. Jasmine." "Yes. I love you." "I know." He stayed on the phone with me for 17 more minutes. The police found me in 12. It was one officer, a woman. Her name was Officer Rojas, and I remember her name because she was the 3rd person that day whose name I was going to remember for the rest of my life. She came around the corner of the strip mall with her hand on her sidearm, and when she saw me in the grass, pregnant, wet, bleeding from where I had scraped my knee on the fence, phone pressed to my ear, her face did a thing I have seen nurses' faces do. It shut down and got calm all at once. "Ma'am, are you Jasmine?" "Yes." "Ma'am, I have EMS behind me. Do not move. We're going to get you." "Officer, I am declining transport. My husband is coming with my doctor. They are 11 minutes out." She stared at me. "Ma'am, I don't think you understand. You're in labor, you're bleeding, and there are men with guns on the other side of the parking lot that we are still trying to find." "I understand, officer. I'm not going to the ambulance. I'm going to stay here until my doctor arrives. I need you to keep me here. I need you to not let the paramedics move me. Do you understand?" She looked at my phone. I think she could hear Kang Ho's voice faintly. "Is that your husband?" "Yes." "Put him on." I handed her the phone. I don't know what Kang Ho said to her. I know it took 20 seconds. I know she handed the phone back to me and walked 10 feet away and spoke into her radio in a voice that was not the voice she had used with me. And I know that when the paramedics came around the corner of the strip mall with a stretcher and an IV bag, Officer Rojas stepped in front of them and told them the patient was refusing transport and that they were to wait on scene for a private physician who had privileges and would sign for the patient. The senior paramedic swore at her. I heard him. Officer Rojas did not move. "That woman is the reason I am alive. I want you to know her name. Officer Elena Rojas, Nassau County Police, 3rd Precinct. I sent her a Christmas card every year for 14 years until she retired to Florida. She still sends me one back." Dr. Park got to me in 17 minutes. He was in the back of Kang Ho's second car, not the first. The first car had Kang Ho and Jaiwon and 2 men, and the second car had Dr. Park and the black duffel bag he had been carrying in his trunk for 4 weeks. He got out at a jog, which is not something a 60-year-old Korean maternal fetal specialist does on a Tuesday afternoon unless the situation calls for it. And he came around the strip mall with the bag, and he dropped to his knees in the grass next to me, and he took my pulse before he said hello. "Jasmine, I am Dr. Park. Dr. Chen has told me about you for 6 weeks. I am going to help you. Do not move." He got a line in me in the grass. He hung a bag of magnesium from the branch of a small, surprised-looking tree. He got a fetal monitor on my belly. The baby was in distress. The heart rate was high, then low, then high again, but the baby was alive. My blood pressure was 183/119. Kang Ho was there by then. He was holding my hand. His face was gray. "We can move her in 10 minutes, Dr. Park said. Not to Nassau, to the one in Great Neck. They are waiting." 10 minutes is a long time, doctor. 10 minutes is what I need. 10 minutes or I lose her in transit. Kang Ho did not argue with him. Dr. Park had been trusted for a reason. We waited 10 minutes in the grass. Officer Rojas stood between us and the parking lot. The paramedic stood 20 feet away and watched. Then they moved me. Dr. Park's car, not an ambulance. 12 minutes to the small private hospital in Great Neck, where the CO family had been a donor for a decade. My blood pressure on the way was 185/121. It was preeclampsia, and it had been coming for a week, and Dr. Chen had been right about every single thing. They took the baby out by cesarean at 11:40 p.m. that night. I was awake for it. They had put a screen up across my chest so I could not see what they were doing. Kang Ho was at my head, in scrubs, holding my hand. His scar above his eyebrow looked very white in the hospital light. I was shaking badly. The magnesium they had given me for the blood pressure was making me feel like my skin was on fire from the inside, and the anesthetic was cold where it had spread, and I could not feel my legs, but I could feel the pressure, the pulling, the strange sensation of being worked on by people I could not see. I was scared in a way I had not been scared since the basement apartment when I was holding my mother's hand. Kang Ho. Yes. If something goes wrong. Nothing is going wrong. If it does, the baby, Kang Ho, the baby first. Do you understand me? Jasmine, nothing is going wrong. Promise me. He was quiet. He was not going to lie to me. I promise you, he said, the baby first. And then there was a small, furious sound on the other side of the curtain, and Dr. Park laughed, a real laugh, and said, Ego Jalsingjin Namjia, which means, oh, handsome boy, and the nurse lifted the screen for a second so that I could see my son, upside down in gloved hands, red and furious and covered in something white and kicking, and I cried, and Kang Ho cried. And somewhere in Queens that night a man named June was lying in a morgue, and his daughter Jai-Hai was lying on a mattress on a basement floor 30 miles away, and I did not know either of those things yet, but I would know them by morning. The baby was 7 pounds 1 ounce, 3 pound.